Not Like Us, Kendrick Lamar.
Hey, Brian. How you doing?
Joe, Balogh, welcome back, man. Dude, how was Florida?
Man, it was nice. Sunshine, warm weather. Spending time with my granddaughter. Man, it was great.
Awesome.
What you watching?
Just a rerun of another Grammys. I missed it the other night and wanted to catch it, and they're about to give away the award for Best Performance of the Year.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Here are your nominees for Performance of the Year. Beyonce, Cowboy Carter.
This ain't Texas, ain't no hold'em.
David Sheldon, you've lost that loving feeling from Coach's Corner.
You lost that love and feeling. Whoa, that love and feeling.
No way.
As selected by the 13,000 voting members of the Recording Academy, the Grammy goes to... Even if it's not you, Beyonce, I might just say it.
David Sheldon. This performance is even better than his win over Coach Joe in Ontario in their final meeting as members of the North Central Conference in 2013.
Unbelievable. Sheldon wins again.
That Sheldon track is hot fire. Oh my God. I gotta download that right now.
You lost that love and feeling.
Well, we've had a great girls regular season basketball so far this year. We've got to cover a lot of different teams, got to see some special players. Talked a little bit about the grind of January, but joining me today, Travis Berardi, we're going to talk about some excitement because we just had the girls tournament draw last Sunday and the brackets are out and kind of the excitement of the season is going to start already next week. So
it's crazy. I know you and I were at Clear Fork practice. Coach Sellers comes up to us 2 weeks ago. You know, tournament draws in like 2 weeks. I'm like, what? It was just crisp. What's going on? Also, finally a pleasure to be on the show. All it took was me to be a backup singer for David Sheldon winning a Grammy, finally to get noticed. But it's a pleasure to be back on here, Coach, as always.
You're always welcome, Travis. Always welcome.
But yeah, let's talk brackets because, you know, Lunardi, Berardi, got to be out here and talk. And let's start with our Northwest District teams, our teams from around the area. And let's start in Division 4, Northwest 1. That's the Bucyrus District. That's where we got Bellevue, Ontario, Upper Sandusky, and Shelby. Bellevue got the 1 seed. That big win over Shelby really clinched that for them, but Shelby got the 2. Upper Sandusky, off and on. They had that losing streak midway through the year, but they really picked things up. They clinched a 3. Then you have Sandusky Perkins at the 4. But I want to start down at the bottom of the bracket, Joe. Upper Sandusky and Clyde. Just last night on the OH report, they had a 3 in the corner with 4 seconds left to beat Clyde by 1, and we get a rematch on Thursday.
Yeah, that's really interesting from the standpoint. You know, sometimes you get stuck playing a team 3 times during a year. And this will be the second time in just over a week. And in a close game like that, it'll be interesting to see how teams try to adjust because we've covered Upper Sandusky girls enough that one of the things we know is they have a potential that they can really shoot the basketball from 3. And they got one of the best players in the area, and probably one of the best players in N10 girls basketball history in Grace Walton, who's just been outstanding. But that's going to be a tough matchup for them in the first game with Clyde coming into, as we all know, the first round of those games is at the higher seed site. And I think Upper Sandusky's a 3 seed and Clyde, I believe, was a 5 seed. And so that's going to be a really interesting game, you know, when they match up in that first round.
Yeah, and then another interesting matchup right above them, Shelby and Lexington. They just played as well at Shelby with the Lady Whippets winning that. But you're going to have 2 of the best players in the area going up against each other, possibly in a district semifinal, in Grace Walton and Eve Schwemley.
Yes, and they matched up, I think, probably, 2 or 3 weeks ago?
Yeah, it was,
I believe.
Yeah, right after Christmas.
And Shelby's had an outstanding year, which I guess that's typical of what we say almost every year now with Shelby girls basketball. I think they're currently 18-2, 2 regular season games left. Again, get to have a home game against Lexington, a team that they pretty much dominated. But you would imagine that Lex is going to kind of come in and, kind of throw everything out. So don't be surprised that maybe they try to hold the ball, do something different. But would really be surprised because the ability of Shelby to pressure the basketball, create turnovers, defense, getting their offense going is going to be a tough task for Lex to deal with.
And then at the top of the bracket, Bellevue plays Ontario, but other than that, that's the SBC bracket, you could say. Yeah. Bellevue, the 1, playing Ontario, the 8, and then you have Perkins and Vermilion taking on each other. So you got to think it's Bellevue coming out of that top, and right now, you got to think Shelby's just a bit of a favorite over Upper Sandusky, but you think if Upper Sandusky can hit their threes, hit their shots, they can make that a game. But you got to think we're going to have part 2 of Shelby versus Bellevue for a district championship game, and like district championship games we've had in Division 2 over the past 5-6 years, where it was down to those 2 teams.
But don't be, again. Tournament usually gives some surprises.
So don't look at
you look at a second round matchup, Bellevue, Sandusky, Perkins. I think that'll be the 3rd time they play because I believe they're both in the same division in the Sandusky Bay Conference. So as many times has been said, it's hard to beat a team 3 times.
It is,
and especially a team that you played in your league. So that might be an interesting matchup in that first round of the district there. But if you're kind of placing bets, you're probably going to say Bellevue, Shelby in that matchup in the district final.
I mean, it's what, us media pundits, we're hoping that, but hey, don't count out Grace Walden, Addie Newman and company in Upper Sandusky. Don't count out an upset out of the SBC either, but that's why we love tournament time, right, Joe?
That's exactly right, why we love it.
All right, let's move on to Division 5, Northwest 3. This is, I believe, the Shelby district. Shelby has 2 districts. They have the Division 7 Northwest and the Division 5 Northwest, and the number 1 seed, the Clear Fork Lady Colts. I mean, they hit 1 or 2 buckets. They're MOAC champs this year, that game against Shelby, but they played Bellevue. Bellevue hits a 3 late at Clear Fork to knock them off. This is probably Scott Seller's best team that he's had, and he's had some really good teams. They're the 1 seed. They go through Gallion first game, and then possibly Milan Edison. So the 7 and 8 seeds, or the 5 and 7 seeds, will be the top of the bracket. But then at the bottom, you have Willard. They take on Crestview, and then possibly a Port Clinton team or a Huron team, so another SBC bracket at the bottom. But it's thinking Clear Fork, they take care of business, do what they're supposed to, they're most likely going to be playing in a district championship.
Yeah, and interesting, I mean, sometimes coaches make that decision, and Coach Sellers made the choice, hey, I want to play. We're not going to
he's always told me he doesn't want to take a bye.
We're not going to sit and take a bye. And I guess if you take a look at that philosophy, probably is a good philosophy, especially as we look at the football playoffs. NCAA this year, that those teams probably wanted to play. But Clear Fork's had an outstanding year. I mean, we've been down there a couple times to do games. We've seen him practice, had a chance to talk to Coach Sellers. He's done an outstanding job with his program. Probably you said maybe his best team so far, but the cover's not going to be Bears as they got kids coming.
They have a really good 8th grade squad coming too. And then again, we're thinking, you got Clear Fork, and you probably have Willard coming out of the bottom. But once again, Willard's going to be facing teams that they have seen before in his regular season.
And you give Willard a lot of credit. Coach Bedingfield has done a great job there with only eight girls in the program.
And they're young.
And you as a coach, I would be really stressed figuring out how do you practice every day with 8 girls. But she's done an outstanding job. And the one thing about the Bedingfield family is they're going to be well prepared on the girls' side or the boys' side. So if that matchup would come with Clear Fork and Willard, I'm sure that Willard's going to have some things in the bag that they're going to really try to take away from Clear Fork. But on the other hand, Coach Sellers does a great job preparing also. So that could be a great district final matchup.
Yeah, for Willard, they did put up a fight against Shelby at home. Down early, but then they fought back, made it a game at the end. Free throws ended it, give Shelby the win. But for Clear Fork too, usually you're thinking this is a team that lives and dies by the 3, but I called a game where they only hit 2 threes and they still dominated. They have a complete team inside and out. And then with that defense, I mean, this is a team that, like I said, Scott Sellers is one of his best teams he's had, and he's had some great teams. But with everything clicking, if they can continue to do that, they have a good shot of being a favorite at least to win their first district championship in quite a while.
And it's not, I mean, if you look back since they've gone to 7 divisions, when they were in the 4 divisions, the gauntlet was a little bit tougher maybe than it is right here, because you would have to beat maybe 2 or 3 really good teams in this case here, not taking anything away from anybody, but you're looking at that matchup with Willard as being the key matchup for you.
Yes. Let's move on now. Division 6, another Northwest district, and this is the Northern 10 Firelands district pretty much. You got Colonel Crawford, the number 2 seed, Margaretta, the number 1, the back-to-back, I think the back district champs. They went to a Final Four just 2 years ago as well. They're down there as the 1 seed, but a couple matchups worth looking for in that sectional final round. Winford, Monroeville, pretty good team down there, but Winford, when they're on, they can beat teams like Colonel Crawford, hand them one of their lone losses of the season. But then, if it's an off night, it could be a battle. So that might be one of those games worth watching. But you got to think Winford is the favorite.
Yes, I would think they would be, and I think the other thing that you take a look at, you take a look at the N10, where really both, maybe more girls' side than boys. There seems to be a real balance in the girls' side of the N10, and that's kind of been over the past 3 or 4 years that's a league that you'd better be ready to play every night, because we've seen teams at the bottom half knock off teams in the top half. And you're kind of right. Winford has really good balance. I mean, if they have the 3-point shooting going, they can be really, really good. But they also have some size inside. And that's going to be a good first round game. And then you're going to take a look potentially that's going to be matched up with Margaretta in a district semi game.
Yeah, and that's one where Winford, they would need that complete effort. Both sides have a chance. But Margaretta, I wouldn't say Margaretta's down, because they're still conference champs. They're still a number 1 seed, but a couple of those big names have graduated. I think if there were any year to beat Margaretta, it could be this year, but that's not saying anything against Margaretta, because they are still a very, very good team.
And the thing that you find when you have a team like Margaretta that's had the success that they've had, the girls that are playing now, that they may have been sophomores and freshmen. Now they're juniors and seniors, and their expectation is that they're going to win districts. And there's a lot to be said about that. When you are constantly in those district type games, there's not a fear of it. There's not, you don't feel maybe the pressure that that somebody's going to be there for the first time. So that would be an interesting matchup in the first round of the district.
And then at the top half of the bracket, the number 2 seed, Colonel Crawford, they play the winner of Western Reserve and Buckeye Central. Buckeye Central is a sneaky team. I've seen them multiple times this year go up against the likes of Upper Sandusky, or go up against Winford, and they had a 10-point lead on Winford at home in the second half, and Winford battled back and won. But Phil Loy, congratulations again on win number 200 for him as well. But he has his team tested that they could be one of the sneaky picks to pull off an upset in this tournament. But Colonel Crawford also, they've beaten them by a handled margin the last 2 times they played this year.
But again, we go back to the same thing we talked about several times already, playing a team 3 times. So you're going to expect the team that's the underdog, they might try to throw something different at you, and it will be up to Crawford, can we handle if something just completely different is thrown at us. But Coach Bauer's done a great job with that program also. Had a great year a year ago, outstanding season this year. That'll be an interesting matchup. And as you take a look, you have New London and Mansfield Christian at the bottom. That could be a good game.
The Firelands Conference champ against Mansfield Christian. Both, they could still clinch a share of the conference championship for them as well. So there's 2 right there, and then they'd have to face, the winner of that possible Western Reserve, Buckeye Central, and Colonel Crawford game. So you could see something there.
But as we take a look at this district, comparing some of the other districts that we've looked at, Travis, this may be one of the hardest districts to win, for a team, because you're facing several quality basketball teams that you're going to have to beat to get out of this district and get to the region.
Okay, let's move on, get to some of the Central District teams. And I wanted to lead off with this team and completely forgot for some reason. But Big Walnut down in Division 2 in the Central District. This is where having 7 divisions might be a little bit of a head scratcher, because Big Walnut's already into a district semifinal and they aren't even playing. So congratulations, Big Walnut. You've won a sectional championship without doing anything. And they're going to face 2 double-digit seeds, one of the 2 double-digit seeds in that district semifinal. So if they can take care of business like they have been, last night you saw live and free on the OH Report, just handling Worthington Kilbourne, a good team, and running clock them. If they can play like that, they'll easily be into a district championship game, and then they'd be favored there as well, because Big Walnut is a very good team. You and I saw with our own eyes at practice, they have one of the best players in the state, and she just broke a school record right after we were there, so I guess we were good luck, Joe.
not only one of the best players in the state, Sidney Mobley's probably one of the best sophomores in the country.
Absolutely.
I mean, and a very, I guess, a very even-keeled basketball player.
Yeah.
Just seems to be a great kid. And you like to see players like that have great success. And, but they also have another really good player at the point in Remy Largent.
Yes, they do.
Coach's daughter. I think she might be only a sophomore also.
Yeah. They have a young squad too.
They have great balance around them.
They do.
But their nemesis right now is Westerville South. Westerville South got them twice. I'm not really sure. We haven't looked that far ahead to see where that matchup would happen. But that would be an outstanding matchup as you get to, I guess, what we'd call regional play. But
I think all the central districts match up in regional, so it would be somewhere in Columbus in a regional that would
And as
happen.
you mentioned, I mean, some of our viewers may not understand this with 7 divisions, but divisions 1 and 2. Division 1 is the 64 top teams as far as enrollment, and then Division 2 is the next 64 teams, and then divisions 3 through 7 are divided evenly, which is about 130 teams in each division. So, people are saying, well, we're watering down the state tournament. I don't know if we really will be. It'll be interesting to see how this all plays out, though, with the 7 divisions. But Big Walnut's a team that's really fun to watch. And,
they are.
And if we get a chance to cover some of their district games and maybe even the regional, it'll be OH worthy to report, worthy to be watching.
Oh, absolutely. And just saying with this young squad that, they're one of the favorites this year in Division 2, but next year, the year after that as well, this might be something where Kansas City-esque maybe with a couple championships. But hey, let's get through the games first. Now let's move to the other Central District teams in Division 5, the Fredericktown Freddies, the KMAC champs, handing Centerburg 2 of their 3 losses all season. They're a 5 seed in that Central District, but they would run into, they played Columbus Academy, a 15 seed. Win that, they play Madison Plains, a 9 seed, then they play another double-digit seed in the district semifinal to get to the district final. And those teams went that way because at the bottom of the bracket is one Columbus Afrocentric. You got to think it's all double-digit seeds except for Fredericktown and Afrocentric. So this is one of those, barring any major collapse by any of those 2 teams, we'll be seeing those 2 at ODU playing for a district championship.
Yeah, I mean, the top of the KMAC in girls basketball, those 2 teams have had a great season. But the challenge is, as you go to that Central District, you run into those teams like Afrocentric, a Harvest Prep, some of those parochial schools or private schools that makes that path a little bit more difficult. But would be interesting to see those matchups as you get to ODU later down the road in the tournament.
And then another team that could be at ODU as well, because we were just talking about this before sitting down, is the Central District Championships all day at ODU. You're going to have all of those divisions. River Valley, if they make it, they'd be the first game. Pleasant, if they make it, it'd be the second game. Fredericktown would be the third game. Centerburg would finish things off at 8 o'clock. So that's a cool venue that you just all day be watching teams. And speaking of Centerburg, they're in the KMAC bracket of their Central 2 district in D6. They host Mount Gilead. If they win, they would host East Knox, and that would get them to a district championship game at ODU, where they would most likely face Newark Catholic, a perennial team that makes it to that part of the tournament.
And that's what makes the tournament now interesting also, because everybody across the state, that first round or first 2 games, many times it used to be the sectional, is the higher seed host. So, in that case, I believe you said that Centerburg gets to host 2 games. Yeah, they get to host 2 games. And so many times you wonder why, why would a coach pick to play a game when they could maybe rest? That's a good reason. Hey, we get another chance to play in front of our home crowd, which is really, really special.
Yeah, seniors get 1 or 2 more games as well.
And the tournament atmosphere is different than a regular season. A little more amped up. Students get involved. It's a lot of fun. As I said to our players many times, when you're able to make a run in a tournament, those 2 to 3 and 4 weeks, those are just special times. And we're going to see some teams that are going to have to, that they're going to get that chance to have those special runs this year.
Well, and a team that's had special runs last year is Mount Gilead under Coach Balt. 2 years ago, they made it to the district championship game, knocked off a state-ranked team on the OH report in the semifinal before falling to Newark Catholic. And then last year, they went after, I think, the 2 or 3 seed, knocked them off and got to a sectional championship. So don't overlook the Lady Indians as always.
No,
But Centerburg is a very good team with that 1-3
And Mount Gilead, I think, in looking at their schedule, I think they had lost like maybe 4 or 5 in a row. They've won 2 in a row. I think they've got a chance here to finish the season with another 2 victories. So if you're able to win 4 in a row here at the end of the year, and you're going in to play a team again for the 3rd time, you're going to give your kids, hey, you're going to play that adage that, hey, it's hard to beat somebody 3 times.
Yeah.
And, we're a team that we can play well enough. We've had the experience that we can do it. And as we've said many times, one of these, we'll come into the OH report and we'll go, holy smokes, how did that happen?
Right, exactly.
And it's probably going to happen sometime this year to somebody.
Yeah. And just discuss with us real quick, because the breakdown now, regionals are still at a neutral site, but then state semifinals will now not be at UD Arena, but it will be at a neutral site determined by the executive director. So you get 4, it's kind of like football now. You have the final 4 teams. It's going to be matchup versus matchup depending on geographics.
Correct. So your district weeks are going to kind of remain the same. It's usually going to be you might play a Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, and then the finals are Friday, Saturday. Regionals will be similar also, that you play midweek. But once you get to the state, if you win your regional and get to the state Final Four, those games are going to be played on a weekend. So it's going to be played either a Friday, Saturday. Some games could also possibly be played Sunday at a neutral site. For girls, it's going to be typically like a college site, maybe like Wittenberg or Worcester. Could be a high school site, though, that's a bigger venue.
Yeah.
I think they've talked maybe even like about a Lida Fieldhouse. So it's interesting. You get to the Final Four, you're going to play, and if you win,
you get a week.
You got a week. You almost have a week that you're going to be able to prepare and go to Dayton. So that'll be interesting to see how that works out, because it's going to maybe take away that Final Four feel that you get there. But the interesting part for me and coach, it would be is, if you get that opportunity that you get to a state final, it's not just a 1 day or even less than a day turnaround. You're going to have 5 or 6 days, give your kids maybe a little bit of rest, and then really break down things and see. So it'll be interesting to see sometimes when you look at those matchups and you're going, man, this team's really favored over another team. But sometimes you give a coach a whole week to prepare. It makes a lot of difference.
Get everything out of that toolbox,
And I think what'll happen is after the girls' tournament, after the boys, I think our Coaches Association, along with the OHSA, we're going to kind of sit down and kind of evaluate how did this work out, because the other model that they played with was in volleyball, where they played the semifinals at, I think, like 3 different sites around Wright State, and then all the final games at the Wright State. So that could be a possibility that might happen next year in the future, but that's going to probably be discussed after this is all over. So I think anytime you have change, there's always going to be people that like it, people that don't. But I think we'll do a good job of trying to evaluate it, and I think the OHSA will too, and we'll try to do what's best for kids.
Let the madness begin, Joe.
Yep, let it begin.
Season 3 of The Joe Show is brought to you exclusively by Buckeye Horizon, your local Trane comfort specialist. Schedule an appointment online at BuckeyeHorizon.com or call their Mansfield location at 419-529-2738.
After securing 3 consecutive victories, the Big Walnut boys basketball team is now 11-6, gearing up for a crucial showdown with top-ranked Westerville North this Friday. And with 2 games remaining against top-level teams before Sunday's tournament draw, the Golden Eagles have an opportunity to leave a big impression before heading into playoff action. I had the chance to visit practice in Sunbury to get a first-hand look at what's fueling the team's momentum as the regular season nears its end. We're here with Dan Ocke. He's the boys assistant coach here at Big Walnut. And Coach, I think one of the things for me that's always interesting is the opportunity to come in and watch a practice.
Sure.
Extremely impressed, just the energy that you guys bring to practice today. But being an assistant, I think that's always interesting too. But before we kind of delve into being an assistant here at Big Walnut, talk a little bit about your basketball journey. Maybe I think it's always interesting for our viewers to hear, like where you played high school at, and maybe how that influenced you to get into coaching.
Sure, absolutely. I went to Sydney High School, graduated there, played for an awesome coach, Tom Clark. Still close with them to this day. Got recruited, was lucky enough to get recruited and play at the next level, played at Capital University, played for Damon Goodwin, another awesome coach. And then moved into teaching because I knew I wanted to coach. My mom played basketball in college. She taught, wanted to be just like her growing up. She was my role model. So knew that my life was going to be centered around education and basketball for sure. And being lucky enough to be surrounded by coaches that brought the best out of me, really wanted me to get into coaching. So when I'm in college playing basketball, I was like, you know, body's kind of breaking down. I'm ready to, you know, hang the sneakers up per se, but I was really ready to stay into coaching and really wanted to be into coaching. So being at Capital, playing for Damon Goodwin was awesome. I knew that as soon as I got my first student teaching gig in college, the first thing I did was reach out to the basketball coach of the school I was going to and be like, hey, fresh out of college, played college ball, like I do anything you need on staff, and just wanted to really be a part and kind of share my knowledge and share my energy and enthusiasm for the game of basketball. So got into coaching at Pickerington Central High School. It's where I did my student teaching. Lucky enough to get my first teaching job over there. I was there for 6 years. Part of a really awesome staff, had some really awesome teams, made some Final Four runs, worked with a lot of high-level kids, a lot of awesome coaches that I surrounded myself with. It was great. Spent 1 year at DeSales High School. Pat Murphy does an awesome job of running his program. I was there for 1 year and absorbed so much, and forever grateful for that opportunity and just how he spreads love but also holds guys to the highest of standards was awesome. And then transitioned from that, I was actually coaching at Capital University the last 3 years, so went back to where I played and wanted to give back to those guys and get a chance to kind of get my feet wet at the college level a little bit. So spent 3 years over there with the same coach I played for, another awesome experience, and then here I am, first year at Big Walnut. So been around a little bit, but so lucky to be blessed with awesome coaches I've been around and awesome programs that it's been one of my favorite things in life is coaching these kids.
Well, and as I mentioned, one of my favorite things now that I've been out is just getting an opportunity to see how a practice is organized. So being an assistant here at Big Walnut, like what responsibilities do you take on as an assistant, like in organizing a practice?
Yeah, sure. Well, in terms of organizing a practice, like everybody on our staff is coached played at different levels, high levels, so we all bring different perspectives on things. And I think one thing that makes our staff so special here is no one wants to take the credit. We all just want to win, and we want to compete, and we want to get the best out of guys. So we sit down and we talk, me and the coaches, we had a meeting an hour before practice today and say, here's our goals for the week, here's what we want to accomplish today, here's what we're holding them accountable for. Everybody gets to throw some input in there, and then someone decides, whoever it is that day. Sometimes it's Coach Aaron, sometimes it's me, and then we put a plan together and we come out here and we execute it. And we know that, and like I said, it doesn't matter if we're sitting there and somebody has a good idea, that's awesome. Like, we have a bunch of guys, and that's what I think makes our staff so special, is that we all elevate each other. Nobody wants the credit. We just want to get the best out of our guys, whatever that looks like. So it's a team effort when we're building practices, when we're in games, coaching, we're in the locker room. Like, it's all like we all feel like we're our own team as a staff.
Are there any specific responsibilities that you take, like on a game night?
Yeah, sure. I handle most of the offensive stuff, so I put in most of the offensive system we're running is I brought in and was blessed enough that Aaron trusted me to implement those things. In terms of practice, like I'll organize practice like today, I handled the schedule and got some input from some guys, put that together. Substitutions during the games, I'm keeping track of our rotations and things like that. Late games, sometimes I'm drawing up the play, sometimes Aaron drawing up a play. So like I said, like I have specific things that I do handle, but to say that one person has XYZ and this person has XYZ, I don't think it's really like that with our staff, which kind of makes it special. So we all kind of have our responsibilities, but we all chip in and help each other out, try to bring each other out.
So did you and Aaron know each other before you got this? Or?
We didn't actually. So I got in touch with Aaron during the process. He actually coached for Damon Goodwin over at Capital too. So we had that. So we had that tie. Obviously not at the same time. He was there much before me, of course. But
saying he's an old guy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say it. I'm just saying he was there before me. So, so we had that tie together at Capital. We both coached for Damon Goodwin, and luckily put in a good word for me when he was kind of putting together his staff, and we just kind of came together. We met one day. We went out to eat. Threw all of our ideas at the table, told me what he thought I could be, and kind of put his vision out there of, hey, this is what I think the program could be, and I was all bought in, and I said, hey man, let's go do it and see what we can do.
So you talked about that vision, and a word that's thrown around a lot now is culture.
Sure.
Used to be like philosophy.
Sure.
Like, what's the culture you guys are trying to establish here?
The
at
culture
Big
we
Walnut?
have, we want a culture of togetherness, of course. We want guys to love each other, treat each other the right way, but we have 3 core values: accountability, connection, and trust. And we harp on those things every day, and we come together, and when we meet with the team, we're like, hey, this is how you hold each other accountable. This is how you connect with your teammates. This is how you trust. This is what trust looks like on the court, off the court. So really harping on those 3 core values that we've kind of implemented into our program is kind of building our culture to the way that we want to be, because everything that we do, everything we see on the court, everything we see off the court, kids in the classroom, we can always fall back on those 3 core values. Are your actions on the court matching up with those 3 core values? We can hold each other accountable to that. Are they matching up outside or in the classroom, in the school, in the community? Like, we always have those 3 things to fall back on and really hold those kids accountable to those things. And once we get that foundation, we just start building from there.
Well, the league you play in, Ohio Capital Conference, really, really competitive.
Very, yeah.
You guys play a lot of Division I schools now. You guys are Division II with the change to 7 divisions. Any feelings about the 7 divisions? Like it, dislike it?
Yeah, so it's definitely a change for me, because the last time I coached high school ball was 4 years ago, and that was when there was still 4. So when I came back to high school, it was kind of all these things were happening. I was like, how is that going to work? So, you know, coaching at Pickerington, you have your Westerville schools, and and like somebody told me all 3 Westerville schools were Division II, and I was like, it was mind blowing. I was like, there's no way those could be D2 schools just because of how good the programs they are. And then you look at the list, and there's really good Division II teams and really good Division III teams. So I think it's kind of balanced it out in a sense, but I think it's become way more competitive. And it's definitely a change in seeing these schools. And I think that with our league, I think that's what makes things special, is because you don't necessarily, like in college, you play your conference tournament, and then you go into March Madness, and then you can be matched up with anybody. Lucky for us, or maybe unlucky, there's a lot of really good teams in our league that we get a chance to match up with that are Division I powerhouses. So we get to measure up with schools like that, and those are the types of teams that we'll get to face in the tournament. So I think it's a blessing for us to be in a league with such awesome teams, of even if we haven't quite got over the hurdle to beat those teams or match up with those teams, but just playing those high-level D1 teams that are in our league and the high-level D2 teams, that's what's going to get us ready for our tournament run.
You know, you mentioned you were a college assistant, so one of the other initiatives that we're kind of looking at in high school is the shot clock. I mean, we had an event that we hosted this year, and then I think next year we're going to try to expand it to other events. What's your feelings about having a shot clock in high school?
I would love to have a shot clock in high school. I think that with shot clock in high school is the way that the game's supposed to be played. It kind of creates a better flow. And I'm not saying the flow is bad by any means, but it creates a flow of offense of, hey, you only can run 2 or 3 actions. You only can reverse the ball 2 or 3 times, and then players have to make plays. So I think what the shot clock does for the game is it makes players play basketball and players make plays, because there's a limit on what you can do. And I'm not saying that I would, if we didn't have a shot clock forever, that would be perfectly fine with me. But I think what the shot clock does for the game is the best basketball players are really going to shine in that situation, where there's a lot of situations in the game that are now late clock situations. At the end of the first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter, all the best teams, all the best programs in Ohio, you practice those situations. How do you execute the last 10 seconds? How do you execute the last 15 seconds? With the shot clock, you get that over and over and over and over again. So as a coach, you're executing those late quarter plays, you're putting the ball in your best player's hands, you're running your best actions. Now with the shot clock, you see that more and more and more and more. And it kind of forces coaches to adapt to that of, oh, instead of only having 4 of those late clock situations, you have dozens during the game. And that's what I'm saying, like when the late clock, the best player's going to have the ball in their hand, they're going to have to make plays, and then sometimes they will, sometimes they won't. And I think that's the purest form of basketball, of those pressure situations where you have a late clock, creating those opportunities and just players making plays.
We may record this, and I may take this to the OHSAA.
Hey, that's fine. I'll be an advocate if you need me to.
We need some, because that's one of the things. So you've been in coaching for a while now. What's your favorite part?
Just being with the kids. Taking a kid and seeing a kid evolve throughout his career, whether it's when I was in college the last couple of years, guys come in as freshmen that you recruit, and then when they leave, when they're seniors, just seeing how they grow over those 4 years. And even my high school experiences, like you get a kid, you see how he grows, you give him the vision, you help him reach that vision, and you hold him accountable to his goals. There's nothing better than a kid that at the end of a season or at the end of his career says, hey, thanks. Like it was hard those 4 years, but thanks for everything you've done. That's what makes coaching my favorite thing in the world.
Is there a least favorite part of coaching?
Oh man, where do I start? No, no, it's awesome. I would say honestly, my least favorite part of coaching is it takes a lot of time away from your family.
Yep.
I'm recently married, so I know my wife's sitting at home right now. Like, dang, I wish I could spend some more time, but I'm forever grateful for her for sacrificing and allowing me to be here. And I know all the coaches feel that same way about their family. So it's not necessarily the time you put in. It's the time that you kind of miss with your family. Yep. And every coach that's been through it, at some point in time, you're like, man, I miss this. So it's not necessarily a time. I would be here all day if I could. If I could be in the gym all day and spend time with my family and do the things I want to do, I would be in here all day. But I would say that's kind of the big knock of kind of what's the worst part about coaching. It's like it's the stuff that's happening outside of coaching that you miss a little bit of. But
well, your team, this team's kind of been up and down. I guess the thing that I mentioned, I'm not sure if you're aware of this or not, but this team, they've never lost 2 games in a row this year.
Yeah, I am aware.
I mean, because we did the game on Friday night, and the guy I was working with, he said, so what do you think? I said, well, Big Walnut's going to win. I said, he goes, why is that? I said, because look at their schedule. They've never lost 2 in a row. You guys are one of the top 4 teams as far as the RPI. Mm-hmm. And, you still have, I think, 6-7 games left maybe in the season.
Yes, sir.
What do you really like about this basketball team?
I think what I like the most is guys are starting to slowly realize what we're capable of. Mm-hmm. And it was a hard turnaround with the guys coming in with football with the lack of time, and we can make a million excuses, which we're not going to do. But just kind of
that's
now,
a challenge.
It absolutely is. But in kind of just coming into their own, and we're in the last month of the season. We had a team meeting today, and I told them, I was like, hey, this week we're lucky enough that we have 5 days of practice. That doesn't happen often during the high school season.
And so especially with how you guys have started.
Exactly. Had to push back some games, crunch up the schedule a little bit. So given them the weekend off because we didn't play, and having this stretch of days where we can just really focus on ourselves means a lot, and we have to take advantage of that in terms of, hey, when we come to practice today, we have to get better because the teams that we're going to have to beat in the tournament to make our run are going to be getting better today. Same thing tomorrow, same thing Wednesday, same thing Thursday, same thing Friday. So just that, what I like most about our guys is they're starting to realize if we just take these small baby steps every single day, when this is all said and done, hopefully we're going to reach the height that we want to reach. And I feel like that's starting to really click with some of our guys of, hey, they're figuring out, and some days were bad practices, some days were good practices. And I think guys now, and what I like about them the most, is they're starting to realize how important every second we have on the floor together is. And it took a while for us to get there, especially coming off the football field, and their bodies are beat up and they need breaks, and it's hard to give the effort that is required to be a district title team. And they're starting to figure out what it takes to do those things. And that's what I think we're most excited about, is reality setting in that, hey, if we get better over these next 4 weeks, we got a chance to achieve our goals. And that's what's kind of motivating guys now, and where my head's at in terms of what I like most about where we're at.
Well, I like kind of how you ended practice. I mean, coaches, well, I guess all good coaches get them together, but you kind of said, hey, this is what we did well today, but then you kind of laid it out tomorrow. We're doing this drill. And we got to make 90 layups in 3 minutes.
Yeah,
and if we don't,
we're running. And it's funny, I told the guys before practice today in our meeting, I said one of two things are going to happen today. We're either going to get in really good shape or we're going to get better. The choice is up to you guys, because we can't come in here and waste 90 minutes or 2 hours of practice. So if we're not going to get better at basketball, we'll get in really good shape today. And that's what I told them, and I thought they responded well to that. They competed at a high level. We didn't start great with our layup drill where they got to make 90 layups in 3 minutes. They had consequences for that. We did it again. They figured it out. Guys were holding each other accountable for the mistakes that they made. We got it done. And we'll see how they come out tomorrow. Or else tomorrow might be a day where we get in really good shape.
Well, Dan, appreciate you giving the time.
Yes, sir, absolutely.
Letting us come in to watch practice. Greatly appreciate it. Wish you guys the best of luck.
Sure thing. Appreciate it. Yep.
The Golden Eagles currently sit at 4-5 in the OCC, which is good for third place behind defending champion Delaware Hayes and unbeaten Westerville North. The team does have 3 consecutive home games beginning on Friday, where they are 6-2 this season. You can watch their battle with the Warriors and Saturday's showdown against Bishop Hartley live and free right here on the OH Report. We had 8 candidates up for Coach B's Ballers for games played January 22nd through the 29th. Lots of votes rolled in for last week's contest on our social media channels, and here's who you chose with the top performance of the week. Congratulations to Izzy Stockmaster of Seneca East, who filled it up for 21 points and a road win at Buckeye Central. The Tigers Jr. also added a pair of steals while knocking down 4 3-pointers to win last week's award, which was the closest to date, receiving just 5 more votes than Fredericktown's Callie Carpenter. Way to go, Izzy! Now it's time to meet this week's nominees for Coach B's Ballers, featuring the top individual performances captured by our cameras over the last 7 days. Our first nominee is Callie Carpenter of the Fredericktown Freddies. The senior point guard led her team to a KMAC championship as she balled out in the Freddies season sweep of Centerburg. Callie scored 24 points, made 3 threes in their 50-45 win last Wednesday night. The Freddies captured the KMAC crown with a 12-2 record and currently are 16-3 on the season. Our second nominee is Cale Lewis of the Hillsdale Falcons. Cale had a big offensive night in the Falcons' 68-55 win over Waynedale last Friday night. Cale found his range from behind the arc as he knocked down 3 threes en route to a 17-point performance. He also collected 4 rebounds. The Falcons are currently 13-5 on the season and are 7-4 in the Wayne County League. Our third nominee is Kimber Bell of the Mount Vernon Yellow Jackets. Kimber set a career high in scoring as she scored 31 points, including 3 threes in the Jackets' win over East Knox. She also made it a double-double as she grabbed 12 rebounds on the night. Our fourth nominee is Sawyer Weston of the River Valley Vikings. This senior was special as he scored his team's first 7 points against Shelby last Thursday night. Sawyer's 18 points, which included 3 threes, knocked the 5-time defending MOAC champions out of the race for the league crown. River Valley currently sits on top of the conference with a 10-1 record and an overall record of 15-2. Our fifth nominee is Riley Thomas of the Strasburg Franklin Tigers. Riley stuffed the stat sheet on senior night as she scored 26 points, grabbed 14 rebounds, dished out 7 assists, and had several steals in the Tigers' 74-27 win over New Cumberstown. The Tigers are currently 19-1 overall and 11-0 in the conference and are one of the top girls teams in the state. Our sixth nominee is Evan Hager of the Mansfield Christian Flames. Evan put up big numbers as he scored 22 points and dished out 3 assists in the Flames' 70-49 win over Lucas last Friday night. The Flames are currently 6-1 in the Mid-Buckeye Conference with hopes of clinching the title crown in the next 2 weeks. Our seventh nominee is Faith White of the Mount Gilead Indians. Faith was the emotional leader for her team on this senior night, as well as carrying the scoring load in the Indians' 56-39 win over the Elgin Comets on Saturday night. Faith scored 17 points, which included a pair of threes. The Indians have won 2 in a row with 2 regular season games left. They will start tournament play on Thursday, February the 13th, when they travel to Centerburg. Our eighth nominee is Kayla Larimore of the Centerburg Trojans. Kayla shined brightly in her senior night as the Trojans dominated 68-33 over Columbus Beechcroft. Kayla scored 31 points, grabbed 5 rebounds, and had 3 steals. The Trojans are currently 18-3 overall and wrap up the regular season at Fairbanks tonight. Kayla will take her 21-point per game average into tournament play next Thursday when Centerburg hosts Mount Gilead. Our ninth nominee is Brady Kirschbaum of the Hillsdale Falcons. Brady was a dominant force on both ends of the court in the Falcons' 69-52 win over the Northwestern Huskies last night. Brady scored 14 points, grabbed 13 rebounds, and blocked 3 shots as the Falcons earned their 13th win of the season. Hillsdale has 4 regular season games left on the schedule as they are on the road at Chippewa and Rittman this weekend, and then host Fredericktown on Tuesday, February the 11th, and host Smithville on Valentine's Day. And our 10th nominee is Georgia McFarland of the Crestview Cougars. Georgia celebrated her birthday on her senior night with a 58-31 win over Norwalk St. Paul. Georgia led her team with 15 points and added 3 assists. The Cougars will wrap up their regular season and begin tournament play on Thursday, February the 13th, when they travel to Willard. Like we always do, these nominees will be up for a fan vote where you can decide who my top baller of the week will be. It's time for a 30-second timeout. We'll be back with more Joe Show after a word from our sponsor, Buckeye Horizon.
Season 3 of The Joe Show is brought to you exclusively by Buckeye Horizon, your local Trane comfort specialist. Get the best in home comfort. Hot or cold, we're here for you.
Welcome back to episode number 6 of The Joe Show. Been a pretty amazing episode already. You saw all of the playoff brackets for the girls. Travis and Coach B took you through each and every one of those. A local coach won a Grammy somehow with his singing performance. 10 pretty awesome nominees, I think, this week, too, for Coach B's Ballers. But this is the segment I'm sure you've all been waiting for. Never easy to eliminate some of the submissions that come in, but I think I've got a really solid list coming up right now, the 10 best plays that we captured from this last week. Spin it! Here they come, the top 10 plays of the week, presented exclusively by Buckeye Horizon. This will be the opening moments of the game at Strasburg Franklin, where career scoring leader Riley Thomas decided to enjoy senior night on her own terms. Beating a double team for the first 2 points of the game, she'll add a little bit of defensive pressure here, which will later turn into a Thomas steal, and she is off to the races. Impressive 4-0 spurt in about 15 seconds. Let's head down to the reservation now, where Mount Gilead is applying some full court pressure of their own. Kendall Neal is going to jump the play here. She'll come up with the theft and then lobs right over the top to a wide open Ava Baker, who grabs some easy money on her own senior night. One more look at the steal and score in a 17-point win over visiting Elgin. We've got 3 for the price of 1 coming up on our countdown, and who doesn't love a good bundle these days? Hillsdale freshman guard Lowen Ferguson certainly does, grabbing a whole cluster of points in just a 90-second span, where the coach's kid knocked down 3 consecutive triples in a big-time home win over Waynedale. We're going back to Mount Gilead now at number 7. K-Mac showdown between all purple clans, and check out this drive by Rowan Fitzpatrick as he gets swarmed by defenders but finds Gage Baker off the lob. Rowan basically acts as a human magnet for the Bulldogs, then hits the Baker's man for an easy hoop. Let's test out your footing at Top Cut 6, or at least that's what Zy Davis is about to do here on the Monroeville defender before she sits her down, smooth spin, and drills the pull-up J. Watch it again in slow-mo this time as you see Davis set up the play, swirls around the seated defender, and caps it all off with a little bit of swish. At number 5, we head to the castle where it's the closing seconds of the opening half. That's Trevor Brubaker with the rock, who will beat the horn with a gorgeous step-back 3. Ghosting 3 Freddies to set it all up, smooth as cashmere, and a big win for the Golden Knights. Our only defensive nominee this week shows you how the weak side can actually be the strong side, because there's no mercy for Carter Myers on that swat, reading and reacting like a linebacker blowing up a crossing route. Ava Romix calling game now as we crack the top 3. Clock rolling off the final seconds Tuesday night at Upper Sandusky. She leaks into the corner and will bury this contested triple to crash the Flyers. Lady Rams pull out the victory 46-45 with this shot delivering the final blow. Another game winner on the way at number 2. Cardington's going to be down a point, just a few seconds remaining on the clock. Alexis Longdorf with the rock, the kick out, and London Bridge has fallen down. Victory clinching trifecta from sophomore London Blevins to knock off Mount Gilead, 35-33. But at number 1 this week, we're heating things up inside the furnace where after a long miss, sophomore Davion Mack gets up so high he practically catches the jet stream and caps it off with a windmill slam. This kid has some serious springs as he gets basically eye level with the rim for your top cut of the week. I mean, seriously, kids, I don't know how you argue with a windmill dunk in a high school game right in front of the student section in a rivalry at number 1, but hey, it's not up to me. Well, really it is. I picked these top 10, so do remember that. I love getting the chat going down in the comments section, but there's no vote necessary. These are my top cuts of the week. We'll now send it back over to Joe Balogh. He's going to take you around the arena in Whippet Country.
Not 1, not 2, not 3, or 4, or 5, not 6, 7. 7 straight MOAC championships have now been won by the Lady Whippets of Shelby, who can finish off an undefeated 14-0 run through their league schedule with a victory over Pleasant tomorrow night. Led by a loaded class with 8 seniors, the unquestioned leader of the team is reigning Conference Player of the Year, Eve Schwemley, who joined me for a trip around the arena to discuss her life as a bona fide gym rat. So we're here with Eve Schwemley of the Shelby Whippets. So Eve, you've had and continue to have an outstanding career here at Shelby High School. Part of the great tradition of Shelby girls basketball here at Shelby. So I guess my first question is what's it meant to be a part of this program, basically from your freshman year now through your senior year?
I mean, yeah, I think definitely coming in our freshman year, they had a great year, and it was just coming into that was very big as a freshman, and then just continuing that morality of winning throughout the years and having good seasons.
Do you feel any kind of pressure though, like with the tradition that have as far as continuing that amount of success?
I mean, I think a lot of people expect us to win, and I think we expect high on ourselves too, but I don't really think about it as pressure, just trying to go game by game.
Talk a little bit about this year's team. You have 7 senior teammates, so 8 seniors on a team, kind of unusual. I think there's I believe 3 of you are going to be 4-year letter winners, a couple others are going to be 3-year letter winners. How special is this group of seniors?
I mean, yeah, it's super special. We've all been playing with each other since like 5th grade or something, and just having that, we all support each other super well, and we're all really good friends, so it's just really good to be a part of.
I mean, one of the interesting things for me is I think anytime you have a player, really any player in any sport, there's usually somebody that's kind of been a major influence in their life. So do you have a person or persons that are kind of that influence in your career?
Yeah, both my parents, and I'd say my dad was a coach for a while.
Yep,
so
I remember that.
He's always working with me, and my mom played in college, so they both know a lot about basketball and are very big influences on my life.
So as I looked at your career as a sophomore, I think you averaged 12 a game. Last year you averaged 14, and now you're averaging almost 22 a game. What do you think you've improved most in as you maybe gone from last year to this year?
Probably just taking care of the ball better. I feel like I've had less turnovers and just defensive steals and getting the ball back on defense to getting extra possessions for us.
And I know that you're a volleyball player also.
Yes.
So maybe talk a little bit to our viewers about What would be a typical summer day for you as far as, being in volleyball and also basketball? Like give us a typical summer day of what you did.
So usually we'd have either open nets for volleyball or having basketball practice when it's those basketball weeks. But either basketball or volleyball, I'd try to stay after, get more shots up, get better at my game, try to lift, get stronger just throughout the summer. It was very busy, but definitely just tried to get back in the gym as much as possible.
Give me an idea of the number of hours that you would put in a day.
In a day? Including practice?
Yeah.
Maybe like 4.
Any carryover from volleyball to basketball as far as just playing the game of basketball? Is anything like volleyball the same as basketball, or is it just all different?
It's pretty different, but I think definitely the teamwork aspect and just the support of your teammates. Volleyball is a huge communication thing, and that I think helps me with basketball, communicating on defense and with my teammates.
Yeah. What do you enjoy most about playing basketball?
I love the physical aspect of volleyball. Basketball, sorry. Volleyball is very, you're just your side, but basketball you can really be physical and be aggressive.
When you're not playing basketball or playing volleyball, what do you like to do outside of those sports?
I like being outside, hanging out with my friends or family.
Got a favorite athlete?
I would say this year I've been really watching TCU play. I like watching Haley Van Lith. I like her more on TCU than I did LSU though.
Nobody likes Southeast Conference teams.
Yeah.
Favorite pregame meal?
I like getting Everbowl. It's like the acai bowls. They're in Ontario, so I like getting that sometimes.
One of the few things you like about Ontario, right? Had to throw that in.
Right.
As we said, you had a great high school career so far. What's been the best memory you've had so far in your career?
Probably I think winning districts my freshman year. I kind of came in and stepped up, and that was a really exciting time. And also sectionals my sophomore year probably, because we weren't really expected to win a sectional title, and we did. So that was really exciting.
Well, I know you guys got some big expectations for this year. And from the OH report, we wish you the best of luck, and thanks for being around the arena with us.
Yep, thank you.
With Eve averaging a MOAC best 22 points per game, Shelby owns an 18-2 record with 2 games remaining in the regular season. They'll open up tournament play next Thursday at home against Lexington, a team they beat by 38 points when they met on Monday night. That's another episode in the books, with just 2 more remaining in season 3. And believe me, after getting snubbed again for a major award, you just had to go to a Sheldon. I'll be back more motivated than ever to finally get my piece of the spotlight. So if you'll excuse me, I've got some work to do ahead of the Oscars. Go heavy on the bronzer, please.